by our friends at Federated Mutual Insurance Company, helping business owners maximize the success of their business and minimize risk for over 100 years. You can find out more at federatedinsurance.com. Check out My Shield as a great resource for business owners. And again, if you go to federatedinsurance.com, you can find all of this information. And remember, at Federated, it's our business to protect yours. Okay, so Reckless Speculation Thursday.
Reckless Speculation.
If you guys want, I may or may not have spent 30 minutes this morning playing quarterback musical chairs with the 8 teams that I think are looking for quarterback upgrades this offseason.
Can we talk about the baseball work stoppage instead? Can we talk about something really boring instead? I hate reckless
Let's talk about double switches and sacrifice bunts.
Yeah. Let's talk about the lockout, what's going on there. All right, yes, let's go.
Okay.
Reckless Speculation.
So this kind of started with, on yesterday's shows, Purple Daily, Mackey, and Judd, we played the Mary Kay Cabot clip, longtime Browns reporter, connecting the dots and saying, hey, now that the Vikings have Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah from the Browns front office, the Browns have Kevin Stefanski, who is Kirk Cousins' offensive coordinator when they won a playoff game. Like, there's some Baker Mayfield rifts in the organization. She said, keep an eye on Minnesota. Kirk Cousins to the Browns could be a real thing. So I laid out the 8 teams that are seemingly looking to upgrade their quarterback situation in some form. I didn't include the Vikings on this list because I think they could actually look to downgrade, if that makes sense. Like, sure, they could draft somebody or whatnot. Mm-hmm. And then I have 8 quarterbacks or sort of musical chairs that I'm pairing with them. Let's can we fire up some appropriate music for this? I don't know. I can't get comfortable in my. There we go. Football discussion.
Absolutely.
Okay. All
right. Let's go.
So let's start with. So we got the Browns, Broncos, Giants, Steelers, Panthers. The Colts have essentially all but said we're bored with Carson Wentz. Mm-hmm. Dolphins and Washington football team. I've left the Saints off this list now because Sean Payton's gone, and they're $60 million over the salary cap. So I don't know how they could make like a Russell Wilson thing work.
They're probably going to choose to be terrible.
It makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah. So let's start with the Browns.
Okay.
I'm pairing the Browns with Kirk Cousins, as Mary Kay Cabot floated yesterday. Baker and a pick, maybe back to the Vikings. It just makes a lot of sense for both teams, right? Not because of Baker. I'm out on Baker, but if you're telling me 1-year bridge guy,
yes,
maybe he shocks you, maybe he steps up as a more mature leader, and maybe he bounces back from the injury, and you can evaluate all of that while saving like $15 to $17 million to the cap, and having full flexibility after 2022 to do whatever you want at quarterback. You could re-sign Baker if you love him. You could start Kellen Mond if he flashes. Mm-hmm. You could draft somebody. You just have wide open options. You're clearing cap space, and you might get a draft pick in return. The Browns get a better quarterback than Baker Mayfield. I don't think Kirk's going to outduel Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes, but he's better than Baker Mayfield.
Yep. And I think that it's safe to say Kevin Stefanski likes Kirk Cousins more than Baker.
Yeah.
So, yes, it makes sense.
Okay.
I don't think Baker. I mean, Baker was horrible last year, and I think that an injury had a ton to do with that. He is not that bad. He's like, what we saw from him is the worst possible situation you can get from Baker Mayfield in terms of performance. I think that's the lowest possible bar.
I think yes, I agree with that. I think his ceiling is like,
yeah, not high.
12th best quarterback in the league.
Yeah. I am out on him as a person, but if I can get the draft pick attached to Kirk, I don't care. So unless Baker turns into Marino, I'm done with him. But I mean, this is a means to an end to get rid of Kirk and also to get a draft pick.
Yeah.
So yes,
okay,
I'm with you on this.
So Browns, Kirk Cousins.
Okay.
Broncos, Aaron Rodgers.
Yep.
They just hired his offensive coordinator in Green Bay to be their head coach. It kind of feels like a team in a really tough division. They won 7 games. That is a big quarterback upgrade away from being a real player in the AFC. And it feels a little bit like the Vikings situation when George Payton was there in 2008, 2009. He goes back that far, right? He's been in the Vikings front office for. Yep. He was around for Brett Favre.
Yes.
Where you've got the roster, you're on the verge. They were an 8-win team, then a 10-win team. They need the quarterback. And the Vikings found their Brett Favre. The Broncos have done this already with Peyton Manning in the past. Mm-hmm. It just makes a lot of sense. Broncos and Rodgers.
And can I bring in even more potentially reckless speculation regarding the Denver Broncos? Aaron Rodgers as the quarterback, Hackett as the new head coach, and Mike Zimmer as the DC.
Oh God.
Oh.
Because he and Peyton, I think, got along.
Oh, my God.
Dude.
And Rodgers and Zimmer have a mutual admiration society between them.
They
do. Yeah.
And so I think that they would both love to be collaborating and showing perhaps the Vikings and Packers, this is how you do it, gentlemen.
Don't you think Aaron, if that trade went down, and actually they're going to hire probably a defensive coordinator before the trade goes down. So, but Aaron would definitely vouch for Mike Zimmer to be the DC.
But not if it's brewing behind the scenes. There's tampering.
Oh
Let's talk tampering. I've seen it before. I'll see it again. I love it.
Speculation.
All right, the Giants.
Okay.
They got Daniel Jones. He's just, he sucks.
Yeah. Danny Dimes.
He's not good.
No, he's not.
There are reportedly 3 teams now. So Russell Wilson has reportedly updated his list of teams that he would accept a trade to, or would, I don't know what his no trade situation is, but he had 4 teams last year. He has now changed that according to a couple reports. And the list includes the Raiders, who still have Derek Carr. I think Derek Carr probably stays with the Raiders. I don't know why the Raiders would just be itching to move on from him, but the Saints, who again are $60 million over the cap, and Sean Payton's gone. And the Giants are on his list of 3 teams.
Yeah.
Now, the Giants have some cap hell situations going on there too, but Russell Wilson and his wife Ciara in the big bright lights of Manhattan.
He'd be great there. Yeah, you're right.
Right? Changing the culture of a franchise that lacks leadership.
Yep.
It just seems to make some sense.
Yeah.
So Russell Wilson to the Giants.
On Broadway. I love that one.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
I love that one. Huge
star.
splash too, right? Just an enormous splash. If
They've
you're
just
the
been a mess
Giants.
since Eli left, like an embarrassment.
And they're miserable.
Like
Yeah, I'm with
almost
you.
almost bad as the Jets, which is a low bar to get to.
Yep. Now, the problem for this next team, the Steelers, is they're probably sniffing around Rodgers. They'd probably love to have Russell Wilson. But it just doesn't seem like the stars are aligning for those moves to happen. I would not rule the Steelers out for Aaron Rodgers, but it just feels like the Broncos with Nathaniel Hackett are the more logical destination. But if the Steelers are frozen out of the Rodgers, Wilson, maybe even Kirk Cousins trade musical chairs, how about Jimmy Garoppolo to the Pittsburgh Steelers? He's got some winning DNA. He's a leader. They've got enough cap space with Big Ben leaving to just sort of absorb a restructured Jimmy
Tomlin
G
would
contract.
probably like his personality.
You'd like him.
Yep.
I like that one.
Yeah.
I don't love it, but I like it.
And it's kind of like San Francisco.
Look at
He wouldn't come in there and you wouldn't put the whole franchise on his back, right? We're going to play defense. We love to run the ball. We're going to run play action for you, etc. So Jimmy G to the Steelers.
I like it.
Okay. That brings us to the Carolina Panthers, who I think are one of the most desperate teams right now. Like, you got a coach on the verge of being fired. You got kind of an itchy ownership group that's just ready to be splashy and win now. Yep. And you have a division, the NFC South, that is wide open, especially if Tom Brady decides to retire. I don't think he will, but Byron Leftwich is probably going to be gone. There's some weird vibes in that Tampa organization. But the Saints are going into a rebuild. The Falcons are kind of... Matt Ryan has a $46 million cap hit. Like, that division is there, right?
Yes.
And they were in the mix a year ago for this guy, Deshaun Watson, to the Carolina Panthers.
Ooh.
It was them and Miami and maybe another team that were being rumored a year ago.
Is Deshaun going to get his legal issues cleared up here soon? Because, I do think if he is I don't know, can resolve his legal troubles, I mean, the trade market for him potentially could be huge, right? The Panthers make a ton of sense, but if there's an announcement in, I don't know, a month, Deshaun Watson's, all his troubles are gone. The Dolphins get involved, right? Carolina gets involved. I mean, there's a lot of teams because he's still really damn good. The problem right now is the off the field baggage he's got. But I do like that because I think the Panthers. Now, I probably would change my coach at that point in time. Rule's an idiot. He is not a he is a college coach. He is not a pro coach. But you're right in the fact that I do think it's safe to say that they have an ownership group that wants to make a splash and really has failed on a few fronts so far. So that's a good one.
Okay. All right. That brings us to the Colts. So their problem is like they're based on their season end press conferences. Like, was it who's the Chris Ballard, right? He's the Colts GM. Yeah. And he basically said, he didn't commit to Carson Wentz.
I've seen enough.
It was uncomfortable. But they still owe like $15 million in dead cap money to him next year.
Yep.
So it's not. They could cut bait, but you'd be eating a lot of money. So I think the best case for the Colts is you keep Carson Wentz around, but you bring in a real a backup that could take his job in training camp. You make a trade for Gardner Minshew. You bring some leadership. You bring some flair. You bring a guy that can step in and maybe be a starter, but for not that much money because you can't bring somebody in.
Right.
You can't just eat $15 million of Carson Wentz and then bring in Kirk for, a restructured 30. Like now you're paying 45 to your quarterbacks.
Interesting.
Gardner Minshew.
Wouldn't be their first choice, but your scenario that you paint of
Russell Wilson would probably be their first
cap
choice. But
here's my question off that one. If you could trade Kirk to the Browns, and I don't know how, but let's just say in this hypothetical world, you didn't have to take Baker back. Gardner, 1 year plug and play here.
Oh, yeah.
I think would be.
I'm a Gardner guy for sure.
Because I think he's a good. Because I think he's a good guy.
He's not as good as Kirk Cousins as a quarterback, but
no, he's not. But I think he's a better guy, and I think people like him, and I think they gravitate towards him. That to me would be an ideal 1 year bridge guy while you're trying to basically do your due diligence on who you might draft in 2023.
Like, who would I rather have, Kirk or Gardner, and $35 million in extra cap space to bolster the rest of my roster? It's a no-brainer.
Yes.
Okay. The Dolphins I have as a giant question mark because I have them missing out on some of these other options. And Tua is fine. He doesn't seem to be special. It feels like now that they've made a coaching change, the Deshaun Watson momentum, air quotes momentum, is probably dead there.
Yes.
And so I could see them maybe grabbing a guy like Jameis Winston or like a Marcus Mariota and just having a competent, veteran quarterback next to Tua. And then for the Washington football team, I just have them drafting maybe the first quarterback with the 11th overall pick. I just don't know.
And screwing up again.
Probably.
Completely screwing up.
So
just being incompetent.
Broncos, Aaron Rodgers. Giants, Russell Wilson. Browns, Kirk Cousins. Steelers, Jimmy Garoppolo. Panthers, Deshaun Watson. Colts, Gardner Minshew with Carson Wentz. Dolphins, a veteran like a Bridgewater or a Jameis or somebody to pair with Tua. And then the Washington football team, cross your fingers and draft somebody 11th overall.
I like it. That's a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
Oh, I mean,
that's some great. What's the word I'm looking for? Reckless speculation on your part.
Thank you.
Reckless speculation.
Let's table old tweets exposed for the day because old Macadac's got a time crunch here. So maybe we can do it. Tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm going to let you guys sit on that reckless speculation here. Chew on that quarterback.
Where's the collaboration there, huh? Why can't we all decide? Where's the collaboration?
Well, maybe if you guys hadn't thrown 5 extra things at Doogie at the end of his segment, we could have had more time for.
I bailed finally. I bailed. I realized the error of my ways.
Yeah, I was throwing scoops. I had a scoop.
You did.
I had a scoop
from Portland.
You did. You have a Portland
I had a scoop. I got a Portland scoop. Okay.
It's amazing.
You got Portland sources now.
I do.
Very impressive.
I do.
Reckless Speculation Thursday. Mackey and Judd. Daily Minnesota sports, entertainment, therapy, speculation. We'll see you guys tomorrow.